This is Hank Camlin, Purple Heart, retired Army.
I did 26 years in the Army.
Did you? So you've seen and done stuff that really still bounces around in there.
It is what it is. It goes, this is, I don't really know a lot about this. We just saw it on Facebook, to be honest with you. But I do know about the Wounded Warrior Project and the Wounded Warrior Foundation. We've got a lot of people who are still in the service and who are coming back home, who are dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder, traumatic brain injury, which is an icon for this conflict. And I don't know if these numbers are true, but I heard that there's more amputees from this war than any other war since the Civil War, due to primarily the body armor. They're saving lives, but you're still losing a lot of limbs.
Yep.
So you've got people coming home who've made it home, and with not necessarily all of their body intact. So they're dealing with a lot of pain, a lot of hardships. So the Wounded Warrior Project is very close to my heart because I know people like that. I got friends in their graves, and I got friends limping around.
Well, I rode across the country 10 years ago for a couple of guys that got hit and killed by a drunk driver. And when I was getting ready to do this trip, I said, we need a good cause to look at, see if we can raise some awareness, raise some money. I'm a Navy veteran myself for Vietnam. But my friend Michael Zarate came to me and he said, Ron, do you know that since the first Gulf War, 65,000 veterans have committed suicide?
That's right. I think 23 a day at some point.
22, 23 a day. That's almost 1 an hour. It's unconscionable. And the problem is, like you say, battlefield medicine is great, but they're saving guys that never saved 20 years ago. And the downside is they're backing things up in the VA system so badly that we've got 851,000 guys waiting to get in.
Oh, I know. I know people. My brother, in fact, has been waiting on just somebody to look at his stuff for over a year with the VA. I mean, I know the VA is doing a lot. However, they do have some challenges, and I think the president and Congress needs to get decisively engaged to get those guys working.
Absolutely, because, and you hate to say people are getting stuff that they haven't really worked for, but if there's anybody in this country that deserves something, that is entitled to something, it is the veteran that's gone out there and sacrificed his time, sacrificed being away from his family, and in many cases, given everything.
Oh, I concur.
So, I don't know. We're trying to just go down the road and talk to guys like you, and you tell their stories about some of the challenges they've had. But it's all not going to be down stuff. There's going to be some guys out there that are just upbeat and positive no matter what condition. That's right. We're trying to find those guys too. But thank you for your service. God bless you.
At this time, I'd like to present to you Mr. Dennis Powers, Tennessee State Representative.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank everybody for coming out today. I just wanted to mention a couple of things too, if I can find my notes here, about the Wounded Warrior Project. And I've been involved with it for about a year, and we're out here today to celebrate our veterans who, if it wasn't for them, we would not have the freedom and liberty that we have today, and especially honor the ones that were wounded in battle. Just wanted to mention a couple things about the project. The mission statement, I took it off their site, and here's by the way, here's the blanket that they give you when you join. But their mission statement is to honor and empower wounded warriors of the U.S. military. The vision statement is to foster the most successful, well-adjusted generation of wounded service members in our nation's history. So we're out here today to celebrate that, and also celebrate a gentleman, Ron Broyles, who's going to be raising money, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but he is here today. He is a veteran who served our country, and I really appreciate all the veterans that are here today. Growing up, my heroes back then were Mickey Mantle and Johnny Unitas, if you all remember any of those. But as I got older, I realized that my heroes are the veterans, the ones that have served our country. My dad was in World War II. He would be 95 years old tomorrow, and he served 4 years, 4 months, and 13 days. And I know that every serviceman here can tell you exactly how long that they served our country, and they'll never know how proud we are of that service to our country. And we're proud of Ron's noble endeavor to ride to Key West, Florida. It's going to be a tough challenge for him because he is the same age I am, and but we really appreciate everything that he's doing. And I want to just let you know too, this is only one of many future events that we're going to try to have for the Wounded Warrior Project in Campbell County. Just to let you know, the Veterans Clinic is on the way. We hope to have that open by year's end, and General Steiner's really done a lot of work, and a lot of people have done a lot of work to bring them into Campbell County, and that's just part of the things that we want to do for the people that served our country so well. With that in mind, I'm going to turn it back over to Kevin Walden. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Dennis. Ladies and gentlemen, we are the Campbell County Honor Guard, here to honor our men and women who've worn our nation's uniforms. And we are made up of all the branches of the military, as you see. And we're so happy to be a part of this in partnership with the Wounded Warrior Project. But at this time, if you would, please stand for the presentation of the American flag and for our national anthem.
Honor Guard!
Please put your hand over your heart, or if you're in the military, you can salute.
Present! Forward!
By the dawn's early light, what so proudly we've hailed at the twilight's last gleaming. Whose thoughts rise and bright stars through the perilous fight, over the rampart we won, where so gallantly streaming. And the the one thirsty gave through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, take us that star-spangled Officer of the day, salute our departed comrades.
Honor Guard! Up head! Forward! Fire Squad! Forward! Forward! High drive! Hey! Ready! Hey! Forward! Hey! Forward! Hey! Forward! High drive! Hey! Honor Guard! Present! Forward!
And at this time, I'd like to introduce to you U.S. Army retired Lieutenant Colonel Logan Hickman.
Thank you, Kevin. I do appreciate the opportunity to be here today. The Campbell County Honor Guard always does a super job, and I refer to them as the Campbell County Treasure. You see them out. They do 100 military burials or more every single year. That number never goes down, and then there are events like this, and it's just super. I appreciate Representative Powers forming this event today, and certainly Ron putting forth all the effort with the ride down to Key West. It is a wonderful opportunity to raise money for something that's so very important. The United States Army is 237 years old. It's a military institution just like the Navy and the Marine Corps and the Coast Guard and the Air Force. It's steeped in tradition, but the Wounded Warrior Project is a relatively new program. In fact, it is 10 years old, so in a lot of tradition, this is kind of new. And in preparing for my remarks today, my brief remarks, I did do a little research on it because I'd always heard of it but didn't know a lot about it. And Kevin's talked about that, and Dennis already alluded to it in purpose and missions and things like that. But the war on terror is a different kind of war for our military, and the improved and the IEDs, improvised explosive devices that were so prevalent on the battlefield. In the medical advances that we've made, both in our country and the military, as a result, we were maiming soldiers, and they weren't dying, which is a good thing. But the military was left with lots and lots of service members that had horrible injuries that they'll have to live with the rest of their lives. So that's pretty much the project. It's taken on the mission of helping these veterans. And to personalize it just a little bit, I am wearing this t-shirt today, a little informal, but I'm wearing it in memory of Lieutenant Frank Walkup. And Frank is a product of the University of Tennessee Army ROTC program. Since the formation of the Tennessee Ranger Company, it is a cadet organization. In 1962, we've had 6 members give their life for their country. And Frank is the only one on the war of terror. Frank was buried on the 4th of July, 2007, and I attended his military funeral in Woodbury, Tennessee. It was without a doubt the most moving experience I ever have experienced personally. And I kind of get choked up just talking about the way Woodbury came out on the 4th of July, 2007 for one of their own. But the reason I'm mentioning Frank, because he wasn't wounded, he did die for his country, is his brother, Franz. And Franz was seriously injured in Afghanistan about 9 months ago. And I have had the opportunity to meet Franz, and he has a Facebook page like so many other things in life, and I reviewed his Facebook page yesterday. And all the things he's done. He's still in a wheelchair 9 months after several surgeries, but just some of the activities he's participating in. And he's building models of helicopters and tanks and airplanes, because that's part of his rehabilitation, using his hands and his eyes and the coordination that it takes to build models. But he also has been fishing for the first time. And he's also been to the golf course. He can't play golf, but he watched his buddies play. And last night, he was at Woodbury High School and watched his 2 younger brothers play football. And I can tell you, throughout his rehabilitation, the Wounded Warrior Project has played a key part in that, and the activities he's been able to participate in, and also his rehabilitation, as far as the therapy and things like that too. So I can tell you, while I don't have personal experience with the project, I can tell you someone I know somewhat is benefiting from it every single day. So I do appreciate you being here and this wonderful opportunity that we have to support the Wounded Warrior Project. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel. I'll turn it over to Mr. Dennis Powers.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Logan, and we appreciate that. The Wounded Warrior Project has so many different events going on. I know one project in Oak Ridge, for example, right now they're putting people that have been wounded, they're getting them work on computers to help find perpetrators, and they have a lot of different programs that are going on right now to get people back to leading full, productive lives. It is at this time that I have the honor of introducing our guest of honor, Ron Broyles. I met Ron only 55 years ago when we entered the first grade, and I see some other people that entered the first grade during that time here. Petty Officer Leroy Morgan and Beverly Hall, and there's probably some others here that started about the same time we did. But we've known each other for a long time, and we've been lifelong friends, and kind of lost touch a little bit during that time, but it was great. Got together this morning and caught up on a lot of things. Ron and I went through a lot. We learned how to, we were doing military training when we were 9, 10, 11 years old, jumping out of trees, jumping off homes. We built the first zip line ever, I think, in his backyard between 2 trees over a vacant lot and fell in the lot many times. Used a bicycle wheel to do that. And his favorite expression, I'll never forget, because every project that we did, we were always experimenting. And as soon as we got near the end of the project, he would always say, I've got another idea, let's hook juice to it. And we did. We plugged in just about everything that we had. We blew fuses. His mother and grandmother both were on us all the time because they had to replace every fuse that they had in their home. But we had a great time together, a great time growing up playing football, and really a great childhood. We talk about it, it was a Mayberry type of living in La Follette at that time. And we really got together today and went over a lot of that. And it's my honor to introduce that. This time there won't be any way to hook juice to Ron's bicycle. There's not an extension cord that long. He's got a long ride from here to Key West, Florida. And it's for a very good cause. And we're honored to have him here today. My friend, Ron Broyles.
Thank you, Mr. Representative. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Logan. And thank everyone out here, the Magnificent Honor Guard that's come out for this occasion. This is humbling, not because I am doing anything. I'm just an old man on a bicycle. But we have to understand that we're on hallowed ground here. If you look at this wall over here, and you look at people who were killed in action, never came back, who knows how many of these young men and women have gotten the kind of injuries that we're talking about that the Wounded Warrior Project is trying to help these young men and women with. Yeah, we did grow up in Mayberry, didn't we, Dennis? My youth here in Campbell County and in La Follette, I tell people about it all the time, and they really can't believe me. They say that you didn't do that. You didn't grow up in that area doing those kind of things. And yes, yeah, we did. And everybody that's a little bit older knows how wonderful those times were in the 60s. And of course, that was when Vietnam started. We started sending more and more men over there. Unfortunately for those veterans, they came back to a non-welcoming country. A lot of them had suffered the same kinds of things, of course, that these young men have gone off to Iraq and Afghanistan have suffered. But at that time, there was a different view. Men were seen as baby killers. And I think the media painted people who served in the military as kind of warmongering types. And those young men and women just went over there doing their jobs. That's what they did, and they came back, unfortunately, to a non-welcoming country. Thank God that has changed. I rode across the country from Los Angeles to Hampton, Virginia 10 years ago in memory of 2 men who were struck and killed by a drunk driver, intentionally, by the way. And 25 years before that, I went from La Follette to Washington, D.C. and back on my bicycle, and I thought, you know what, every 25 years I'm going to do a big ride and in some way try to make it special. And like I said, I did it 10 years ago at 50, and I started thinking, 75. I don't know if we're going to try that 25 years today. Maybe we should knock it down a bit. But when I was thinking about what I was going to do and the cause maybe to celebrate or to raise money for, to get a little awareness for, Wounded Warrior came up because I've got a very good friend, Mike Zarate. He walked up to me one day and he said, Ron, do you realize that since the ending of the first Gulf War, the beginning of the first Gulf War in 1990, 65,000 veterans have committed suicide. That's more men than died in Vietnam on the field of battle, 65,000. And then we do a little more research into it, and there's 851,000 veterans who are waiting just to get into the Veterans Administration system. They're waiting up to 3 months. They'll go in and see, not even a doctor in some cases. They'll just go in and be told to come back in a couple of months. And unfortunately, in many of these cases, they're being medicated. They're being given antidepressants. And for anyone who knows anything about antidepressants, unfortunately, the side effects of some of those antidepressants are more depression. And unfortunately, this is a statistic it's hard for me to even get out. Every single day, 22 veterans are committing suicide. That's almost 1 an hour, and it's unacceptable. Wounded Warrior Project, like everyone has attested to, is just an incredible foundation that gets with these young men and women when they come back. And if you were the tip of the spear, if you were the best of the best, you're in the greatest condition you've ever been in your life, and all of a sudden you're walking through a town, or you're in your Humvee going down the road, and all of a sudden an explosion goes off, and now you're missing a limb or missing several limbs. What does that do to you as a human being? It diminishes you, I think, at least in your own mind. Not that it diminishes the human being, but a person that's been out there and been the tip of the spear, and been the best of the best, now has to deal with not being a whole person. I can't imagine that, and I can't imagine what some of these young men and women have done. Post-traumatic stress syndrome, that's another thing that is, I think, underdiagnosed, and in many cases not thought of as really being an illness. When we were putting this thing together, I met with Tom Munson, who has a retreat for veterans up on Douglas Lake, and we met with Tom in a little Mexican restaurant up in Sevierville, right by the Lowe's there. And while we were having lunch, someone in the kitchen dropped a frying pan. I thought Tom was going to go under the table, and he was in Vietnam 45 years ago. So those things don't go away easily. They stick with you forever in many cases. And I was just talking with this gentleman down here. I think there needs to be more of a grassroots effort for us to reach out to those people in our own communities. The Veterans Administration is wonderful. There are many hundreds and thousands of doctors and nurses and people that are dedicated to our veterans, but they are simply overwhelmed. Battlefield medicine has gone from, in Vietnam, you could be medevaced out of a situation pretty quickly, and your life could be saved in many cases more than it was, of course, in Korea or World War II. The last 10 or 20 years since the first Gulf War, it's gotten to the point where we're saving a lot of guys because of body armor. Only limbs are being blown off. We're saving a lot of guys, and that's wonderful. The downside to that is the Veterans Administration, this whole system is just backlogged and clogged up. And there's some guys, I think, who've even given up trying to get help because it's so difficult. So as we look around here, you know, I lived in LA for 25 years, and I came back to East Tennessee, and I just looked around and said, boy, I've been missing this. I've really been missing this incredible mountain scenes and the people and the wonderful spirit here in East Tennessee. But if you think about it, we owe all of that to the people up on this wall, to these gentlemen standing around here and these women standing around here. Now we owe all of that to them. If we're out on the lake or we're out on the golf course and we're enjoying ourselves, we owe that to those young men and women who've sacrificed so much for us. So in closing, I just want to say I'd love to have your prayers. I'm going down the road. It's not about me at all. I mean, like I said, I'm just an old man on a bicycle, but we're going to go down and we're going to try to raise awareness. We're going to try to raise some money. We're going to try to interview a wounded warrior every single day. Please go to the website, www.ronsride.net, and we're also on Facebook at Ron's Ride. And there needs to be a discussion in our communities about identifying these men and women who need our help, because some of these guys have to drive hundreds of miles just to get help, even when they can get in the VA. And some of them have just said, it's just too tough, I'll just deal with it. And you know what, when you're, like I said, when you're the tip of the spear, you're the best of the best, and you're a cut above everybody else, you think you can tough it out. But I know many men and women who have thought that over the years, it gets worse and worse, and it creeps in back in your mind, and it comes out in strange and different ways, and marriages have been ruined, families have been ruined. We have to identify these problems in our communities. If we can reach out ourselves and make an effort, that's going to be a tremendous help, I believe. But God bless you. Thank you so much. I am humbled by this, and I do seek your prayers as I roll down the highway. Thank you very much.
Father, we come before you this morning, thanking you, Lord, for this beautiful day. Thank you for the sunshine as it shines, the wind as it blows. We thank you, Lord, for these folks that come out to honor a wounded individual. Pray you just bless them as they strive to serve you in this place. Be with Ron as he travels, keep him safe on the highways and byways as he goes. Watch over and take care of him. We thank and praise you for who you are and what you're doing in the world today. Guide us and direct us and forgive us, Father, our sins and shortcomings, we do pray. For it's in Jesus' holy name we do ask. Amen.